The Epic Crush of Genie Lo is a young adult fantasy novel by F.C.Yee. It's his debut novel. I discovered this book perusing the library website. It was a recommendation. I was just looking at different new books. This story is about Genie Lo. Her real name is Eugenia Lo, however she hates that name. So her and her best friend have split that name, Genie Lo and Uni, and she is a tall, lanky Asian girl who goes to school in California in the fictional town of Santa Firenza. So in the opening sequence, Genie is walking to school and she sees a young boy getting his ass kicked by six men. They're beating him up, but he doesn't look hurt. She throws her backpack at them, and when they confront her, she runs away. So she goes to the police. She has to spend all morning, talking about the boy that got beat up. However, that boy ends up being the new student at her school. And he gives back her backpack, jumps on all the desks, and then pronounces that Genie Lo belongs to him. So this is a very short novel. It's only about 300 pages. It's very fast-paced. It's a quick read. It is about a young girl who finds out that this new boy in her class is actually the Monkey King. And he has a tail, but he keeps it wrapped around his waist. And together they must work together to fight a demon invasion in her small town. They're after him, and they're after her too, because she's near him. So the two of them become demon slayers of sorts, and they have to go up against all these different demons that Sun Wukong has gone up against in the Journey to the West storyline. So what did I like about this series? I really like the Asian flavor, for one thing. The main character is Asian. She has to go through a lot of different things, such as, overbearing parents, having to get really good grades, getting to the best schools. There's a lot of different subtle sort of racial things in there, such as her parents and everything. And also the whole, her mom has to talk with her a lot about settling down and finding a man. I also like the sort of the mundane life of Genie Lo is more exciting than the fantasy elements, which was kind of disturbing. I was more entertained by her talking with Uni and her volunteering and her, her life sort of getting interrupted by the fantasy elements. However, the fantasy elements themselves are really boring. The fantasy elements of fighting the demons are so quick and rushed. It's the equivalent of Genie Lo going, hey, there's a demon over there. So they go over there, and the demon's really strong. And then she pulls the power out of her ass, and the demon's gone. The end, let's move on. That happens multiple times throughout the book. The sort of book ends when you're just waiting for it to sort of get started, however. There's a couple of twists in there. There's this hilarious sequence and a musical recital, comedy, great touch, but the action elements are very boring. Didn't enjoy watching Genie Lo or reading about Genie Lo and Sun Wukong fighting demons in a really quick, half-assed way. It is this writer's first debut novel. He also has a really interesting prose. I'm just going to open to a random page and see if I can find one. Let's see. After I dressed, I made myself a pot of coffee and downed the whole thing while packing my lunch. I knew some of my classmates didn't drink it, but I could replace my blood with the stuff. So the prose is also can be a little bit new age. It's really hip. It tries to, use a lot of references. I didn't mind that. I could understand everything. However, I just felt that this young adult fantasy novel could have used a little bit more fine-tuning in the fantasy department. It almost feels like the writer just took elements of Journey to the West because it's popular, it's Chinese, it's kind of like the most popular Chinese story of all time, and just threw it into an interesting young adult coming-of-age story, and they didn't mix the two well enough together. It's not developed enough. I like the mundane coming-of-age stuff more than the fantasy elements, which is a bad thing, because it's like if you were reading Harry Potter and you enjoyed Harry Potter's, mundane life more than going to Hogwarts, that would be a really bad contrast, right? I mean, Hogwarts and the school should be the most interesting part. And in this story, it just feels like he sort of just cherry picks different villains and just has them show up and be like, hey, remember me? I'm the white bone demon. I'm here to eat children. Fight me. Basically, it's kind of like that. The book also leaves it off for a sequel. but I felt like this opening novel by the writer should have been a little bit longer and a little bit better developed in the fantasy department. So that's what I feel about the epic crush of Genie Lo.